So it looks like today Apex Legends put out a matchmaking update to explain to us kind of how things have worked in the past and what they're going to be changing going forward. Let's take a look at this here. So it says, hello everyone, we're the matchmaking team in Apex Legends. Matchmaking is a big and complicated topic that is highly discussed in our community. No kidding. We've recently made changes to matchmaking that players may have noticed, and we're here to talk about it. You know what? I actually give them credit. I give them a lot of credit because a lot of development studios and a lot of development teams don't actually talk about this. They just pretend that it doesn't exist. So this is kind of cool that they're talking about it. They're at least acknowledging that matchmaking is a thing. Call of Duty is real bad about that. In this dev blog, we'll explore what is matchmaking, what approach does Apex Legends use, the future of Apex Legends matchmaking, commonly asked questions answered. We'll see. So it says, we're about to go into a deep dive into matchmaking. So if you'd like a quick summary, here are the main takeaways. Apex Legends currently makes matches using your pre-made parties, best player skill rating, and our system does consider your pre-made squad size when matching you with opponents. Duh. These are things we already knew. We are working towards creating fairer matches compared to today as you play with your friends of different skill levels, thank God. We're in the process of retiring our old SBMM system for a new one that more accurately groups our players based on skill and thus lets our matchmaking algorithm make better decisions when forming groups. The end goal is to create more fair matches and experiences that are fun for all. I mean, that was the goal of the previous system, but we'll see. We're continuously testing and iterating on our matchmaking systems in the live game to figure out what works best. In fact, many changes have already been tested and rolled out in various regions for ranked and regular pub games. And we're not done yet. You can expect more matchmaking refinements to come in the near future. It kind of feels like they've been testing. They put out an update, test something, tweak it, and then like a week later or 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later, like something changes. It feels different because there was like a good week or two there where there was a lot of variety in the gameplay, and then all of a sudden it like snapped back to like very sweaty games. While there are many definitions of matchmaking, let's focus on how we approach matchmaking in Apex Legends. For us, matchmaking encompasses three distinct concepts: progression, skill rating, and matching. The progression system is part of the matchmaking that is exposed to all players, and in Apex Legends, you earn a variety of rewards through our progression system just by playing the game. I mean, I assume that they're talking about the battle pass, and the free and the paid one. Players get a sense of improvement and achievement based on their time investment. A good progression system keeps more players feeling rewarded and engaged. More players means better matchmaking. Yes and no. If you're a very good player, better matchmaking means more sweaty. I mean, because that's how matchmaking systems work, right? Whatever their end goal is, the bigger a pool of people they have to pull from, the more accurately they can match to whatever their end goal is. For example, if you're an average player and there's very few people playing at the time that you're trying to play in the region that you're in, you may get stuck playing with pred level players because there's just nobody else to queue with you at that point. However, progression systems have an impact on in-game behavior and can change how matches play out. For example, while players may hot drop in pubs for the adrenaline, they might think twice about doing that in ranked to avoid the harsh penalty for dying early. Yes. Similarly, daily and weekly challenges might encourage players to select unfamiliar legends and weapons. Yeah, that should be the purpose of daily, weekly challenges, to get people to try out different parts of the game and reward them for doing so. For these reasons, it is clear that progression affects more than just player engagement. Progression is a central component to the game and must be considered when creating the skill rating and matchmaking system. Since progression is exposed to the players, it strongly affects their perception of how fair it is. For example, while you might expect account level to be strongly correlated to skill, that's not always the case. A low account player can be highly skilled and vice versa. A high level player can be a potato. I mean, they got that part right, that's for sure. I mean, time played in-game does not correlate to skill, for sure. Distribution of skill in various account level ranges. Green line is the median and the outliers are shown as dots. Interesting. For players with account levels above 300, the median skill in each group is very similar. Skill increases slightly with account levels when players' account level gets higher than 300. However, there are many outliers in each group, which goes to show the account level has little impact on skill rating, especially at the lower account levels. Yeah, it seems like the account levels at the lower end of the system, like 0 to 99, it seems like those have the wildest distribution because you have brand new players mixed in with, you know, even if someone's not smurfing, they might be just good at first-person shooters. So you have like brand new players mixed in with like very, very talented players. Whereas, you know, typically over time, even if someone's not terrible, like they might not be good, but at a higher level, they have like they probably have a core understanding of first-person shooters and Apex itself. So you would expect that distribution to be a lot tighter. Maybe not a lot, but some. All right, skill rating. Skill rating is a numerical representation of a player's skill. This number is intentionally hidden from players to avoid exploitation. Yeah, but we know that though. Like, we always know that there's a hidden elo that the game is tracking behind the scenes from you. This is like the biggest criticism of Call of Duty and Warzone is there's no ranked in Call of Duty really. So you have this hidden elo that you have in the background it's using to matchmake you. And so you're effectively playing ranked in every game in Call of Duty, but you don't know what rank you are, and you never get to know, and you never gain anything from it. You don't even get cosmetics, nothing to show off. So at least in Apex, even though there's a hidden elo for pubs, at least you have the option to go play ranked. To help us explain, imagine a skill rating between 1 is its worst, 10 its best. If I am a 5 and you are a 6, you are better than me by 1. But how much better is that? For this, we'll need to look at the skill rating distribution of all players. It says this is the skill rating distribution in pubs. X-axis is the skill rating, Y-axis is the percentage of players in pubs. Gotcha. It looks like there's a very large chunk of people in the first 2/3, and it drops off like steeply. Like, if you're inside the top third of players in Apex, like, it's very competitive. Discrete buckets. What are buckets? In this approach, players are grouped into 4 or 5 discrete groups. For example, every player between 0 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, 6 to 8, 8 to 10 will form their respective. Okay, this is how they group players in their fake skill model that they're showing you how they rank people. In this case, you assume every player in a bucket has an equivalent level of skill, either by choice or because the skill rating algorithm cannot distinguish those players from one another. So either they are that skill or they play in a way that makes their algorithm think they're at that skill level, which is weird that you could do something to trick it. I would bet that has to do with something along the lines of smurfing, not the other way around. So like, if you're a better player, you can fake being a worse player, but if you're not a skilled player, you can't. Like, you can't trick the game into thinking you're better than you are. Finally, the matching algorithm is responsible for who's in your game. Using the skill rating, it will group players together to form a match. Squads and matches are formed based on player availability, obviously. This algorithm must balance speed versus quality. Should we form a match more quickly, but with higher skill differences, or should we wait a bit longer for more closely matched opponents? I really don't think people have a problem if there's big skill differences in the lobby. I think people have a problem when there's no variety in their games, right? Like, I think people have an issue where even if you're an average or below average player, if you're always being matched against players with your skill level, it's going to feel very difficult for you because they're going to be playing at their limit, which is your limit. Like, they're playing at the same skill level as you. And so the second that you actually improve, all it's going to do is bump you up to the next bucket, as they describe, and then you're going against better players, so it's not going to feel like you improve. When the matchmaker is trying to form a match, it grabs 60 available players of similar skill and tries to form a match. For simplicity, let's imagine these 60 players are all solos. Given their skill rating, how could we organize these 9 players into fair teams? To be fair, the following is not exactly what happens in the actual algorithm, since we also need to consider queue times and other variables outside of the skill rating. Yeah, okay. So this is just an isolated example that they're giving. So if we have 9 players, we need to sort into teams with skill ratings from 1 to 9. Gotcha, I see what you're saying here. Okay, so what they're saying is when they form teams for pubs, if you're a 3-stack, they take the average skill of your team and not just the most skilled player now. This would be their example of the most balanced teams here. This is we form teams with similarly skilled players. Oh, I see what's happening. This is interesting. We form teams with similarly skilled players in a fully competitive environment like ranked. We value having teammates of equal skill and a lower burden of carry over a perfectly fair match. Okay, so in ranked, they're trying to build teams. If you matchmake in ranked, they're trying to build teams of similar skill, which makes sense, right? That makes way more sense than ranked. And that's probably why people in the past have said, if pubs feel sweaty, like, go play ranked. Like, honestly, ranked is better sometimes. As long as you're not in diamond, ranked is better. This covers the simple case, but things are not so easy in the real world, as not everyone plays solo. When a pre-made squad joins into the matchmaker, we need to figure out where to place this pre-made squad and determine their effective rating. Imagine if we have a pre-made trio with the skill ratings 2, 6, and 7. What are the ways we could mathematically determine their team's effective rating? Once we know that, the matcher can proceed to find teammates for solos and duos and opponents for the squad. There are at least 4 ways we could calculate a squad's effective skill. All right, so here are the ways that they're offering to determine your team's skill. Are teams defined by their weakest link? If so, we would take the lowest skill rating when matching, but they're probably stronger than this. That's probably true. The team is probably better than their weakest link. Are teams defined by their best players? If so, we would take the highest skill rating for matchmaking, but their team is probably weaker than this. Do players contribute equally in a squad? If so, the average rating of the team would be 5. But does this truly reflect the squad's ability to win? It's closer than doing the highest skill rank. Do more skillful players carry a team? If so, perhaps we should place more emphasis on the strongest player purely for this example. Okay, so they're gonna for sure offer a weighted system. Let's say they have a 50, 30, 20 weighting. Then team skill would be, I'm not reading all that math, but I see what they're doing. The more skilled players carry more weight and the lower skilled players affect the skill rating less, but they still affect it. This makes sense. This is fair. Apex Legends matchmaking algorithm currently uses highest for pubs and ranked. This makes total sense. This explains everybody's experience that's been on Twitter and YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and all over the place complaining about matchmaking, because no matter how good of a player you are, at some point you were the best player on your team, and at some point your teammates did absolutely nothing. This, however, makes it very difficult for new players to join with their more skillful friends, as the match is based on the more skilled player. This is exactly what we've been talking about. Thank you. At least you're explaining or expressing to us that you understand the problem. We are actively making adjustments to increase game fairness for parties with large skill differences in pubs. Like, this is the problem. At the end of the day, if your matchmaking system is designed to keep the most amount of players on, it can't be this manipulative thing behind the scenes that stops me or anyone else from playing with their friends because of a certain skill level. Like, I know off the top of my head like 3 or 4 people that don't want to play with me, and I'm not even like a top 1% player. I'm just above average. To remedy this, our new matchmaking algorithm will do a much better job at compensating for the competitive advantage that pre-made duos and trios have. We've done the science to quantify this advantage, and we've been experimenting with a new system that can continuously learn and update over time. We expect this new algorithm to start rolling out worldwide early 2023. In short, pre-made duos and trios effectively have small advantages that could be added to their team's skill rating during the matchmaking and skill measurement process. That makes sense. So, to sum this up, what they're saying is if you team up with one of your friends, you're a duo, and you drop into trios, you have a slight advantage because you're in a party together. You have a slight advantage over a team that's all 3 solo. And if you're a team of 3, they're saying that you have a decent advantage over a team that's a duo and a solo, or all solos. And so what they're saying is they are now taking that into account in their matchmaking process. So if you're triple stacking pubs and you're all really good players, you're probably going to have a tough time. I'm pretty anti-matchmaking, but if you do that, you kind of should just go play ranked. So we will be retiring our current system in favor of this new one. This new system measures skill and creates matches based on 2 goals. 1, we need the player's measured skill to be meaningful. Yeah, that you can't elo somebody and have it not really be accurate. Their measured skill must be predictive of their performance. In Apex Legends, this means a player's skill needs to predict that on average, squads with higher skill will consistently defeat squads with lower skill. That makes sense. Current progress. In our tests across multiple queues, the new skill measurement system achieves this goal. Below is a plot showing the win rate for a squad as the squad's skill rating advantage over its opponent increases. When the advantage is less than 0, this means the squad is of lower skill than its opponent, and naturally we see their win rate below 50%. Wow, their data, it's actually a pretty tight distribution. This is actually very good. This is interesting. An advantage for roughly 0 represents similar skill. Okay, so 0 in this graph means that the teams are pretty evenly skilled. Like, there's no advantage or disadvantage based on the team comp, at least. When the advantage is more than 0, this means the squad is of higher skill than its opponent, and the win rate for the squad goes above 50% and increases. Okay, so the win rate goes up as the skill gap increases. So the more above 0 on this graph that they go, the more their chances of winning is above 50%. So the closer you get to the top, it's almost 100% guaranteed that that team's going to win that fight. Oh dear God, what is this? With the new skill measurement, we need to make the tightest possible matches in a reasonable time frame. Our new matchmaker strives to achieve this by flipping the typical search around. Rather than placing players into a static bucket and creating a match as soon as that bucket reaches 60 players, oh, I see what they're doing. It will predict the distribution of incoming players and dynamically choose the optimal trade-off between skill differences and wait time. Okay. It says, our live test with this new system shows it works. Matches are tighter and wait times remain mostly unchanged. Okay. Since Eclipse's Season 15 launch, these systems have gone live in certain regions and modes for testing. The old system will slowly be phased out region by region at every step. I wonder if you can find out what servers this is happening on and play on those servers. At every step, we'll be measuring whether the new system is working as expected and whether the changes are positive for players. When these systems are fully live everywhere, we can then start exploring additional corrections to player skill rating. We hope players will enjoy the changes, and we will continuously look at our data and player feedback as we make further tweaks and improvements. I don't know, I have mixed feelings on this, because I think at the end of the day, the thing that most people struggle with, at least actually I shouldn't say most people, the thing that I struggle with personally about matchmaking is this idea that there's some sort of hidden algorithm in the background that's manipulating my experience, right? I know a lot of people complain about that in Call of Duty, where they say they have a couple good matches, and then the next match they get put into, it feels like they're playing against professionals for money. And so that type of manipulative experience is not enjoyable. At the very least, Respawn seems like they're trying to communicate what's happening, what they're watching, what they're paying attention to, what they're looking to change. And there's actually some very good points in there where they clearly state things that make me feel like they understand what the community is frustrated about. Anyways, that's all for this video. I just wanted to go over the patch notes with you guys. Let me know down in the comments, do you think this is a step in the right direction? Do you feel like Apex heard the community? Subscribe for more videos like this. My name's Caffrey. I'll see you in the next one.